Welcome back to another episode of the Million Dollar Body Podcast. I'm your host, Coach Nate. Today we're going live on doing this podcast without any editing, so hopefully you enjoy it. I don't say anything super weird. So today is the sugar episode. We're talking all about sugar. What is it? Is it toxic? Is it literally more addictive than cocaine? Is there something in your life right now where you need a sugar reset? How does sugar interact with your body and specifically your microbiome, all the bacteria in your gut? And then how does sugar prevent us from burning fat? And then how can we switch back into a fat burning mode from a sugar burning mode? So all these things we're going to be talking about today on the podcast. If you want a little bit more in-depth look at this, I've got a couple of trainings live in my Million Dollar Body Facebook group. You can access that by going to trainingsystems.com/group to get inside there. All my best trainings, everything that you want to see is going on inside that group. So check that out. So sugar, what is it? I'm sure you've heard that many people have said sugar. Well, that's an addictive chemical. That causes the exact same type of dopamine release in your brain that cocaine or heroin does. And I want to start off by saying that's not true. That's categorically false. And the reason people say that is because there are many foods that do have addictive properties in them. But the thing about those foods they are a combination of not just sugar, but sugar, fat, and salt. And for example, a McDonald's French fry is going to be a perfect combination of those three ingredients that's been perfected by food scientists and millions of dollars worth of research to get you to start cramming those into your mouth as fast as possible. So you know how I can say categorically that sugar is not an addictive chemical? It's because right now in your house, if you go into your pantry, you're going to find a 5-pound bag of sugar. And I'm just throwing this out there. I'm just guessing right now. But my guess is that you're probably not throwing that on the countertop, breaking it up into little lines, and then snorting it like you would do, or a junkie would do, if they had that much cocaine just laying around in their house. So you're not going to just be cramming mouthfuls of sugar in, because sugar in itself is not an addictive chemical. But when combined with other foods that really target the dopamine receptors in our brain and cause that chemical release, then you can get that addictive property. So it's not just sugar, it's sugar manufactured in a specific way with fat and salt. So moving on from that, just because sugar is not an addictive chemical doesn't mean that it's good for you, or you should actually take a spoon out and start eating it just like just a beast in your kitchen right now. That's not going to be a good idea, because at the end of the day, sugar is going to create more sugar cravings in your body. And the way it does this is by feeding some specific bacteria in your gut. Our body, if you hadn't heard, our body is made up of a lot of bacteria, trillions and trillions of cells. So if you take out all the bacteria in your entire body, you reduce your weight by something close to like 80%. Like most of our body is made up of bacteria. It's crazy, okay? So there's specific bacterial compounds or bacteria in your gut, in your microbiome, and your microbiome is responsible for digesting food. It's the large place where your immune system is based, different things like that. But in your microbiome, if you eat a lot of sugar, and I'm not just talking about, again, I'm just going to keep coming back to the analogy of just shoveling spoonfuls of sugar into your mouth. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about Pop-Tarts. I'm talking about white bread. I'm talking about fruit juices. I'm talking about even that green smoothie you blended, like you juiced this morning and had. That's going to have sugar in it, okay? All those things, when you have those, what you do is you feed those bacteria. And it's not bad, it's not good, it just is what it is. But as you feed those bacteria, they get stronger, they grow, and they start asking for more and more of the same food that's feeding them. They ask for more sugar. And they actually can create chemical signals that go to your brain and signal another hormone in your brain called ghrelin. Ghrelin is the hunger hormone. So when you have a lot of bacteria demanding sugar, you're going to get more and more hunger signals that are like, hey, yo, we need some sugar. We're getting a little low out here. We need some more. So just the fact that you're eating more sugar, you're drinking a Pepsi, you're doing these things is going to create more signals for your body to start asking for more and more and more sugar. So again, I'm not saying there's no judgment on this. I'm just trying to tell you how things work from a biochemical, from your body's perspective. So I want you to know that when you eat sugar, or if you're going to eat before a meal, you're going to get hungrier after you eat that sugar. So if you're at lunch or you're at work, 10:30 a.m. in the break room, and you're like, man, I'm a little hungry right now. I just kind of feel a little bit, I'm not totally energized. Let me have half of a donut, just half, right? No big deal. You have half that donut, you feed some of that bacteria, and then because of either the bacteria or because you're insulin resistant, which we'll talk a little bit more about in a second, your body starts creating more hunger signals that tell you, hey, go back in there and let's get a little bit more of that, donut. There's half left. Just have the other half. So you start creating these dependencies on sugar just because of the fact that you're simply eating more of it. So if you want to get away from having the sugar cravings, having that itch to always be going out and eating something sweet, that sweet tooth, those cravings, you need to break this cycle. And I'm going to show you exactly how to do that at the end of this podcast. So stay with me. We'll also be launching a free challenge in my group, the $1 Million Body Group on Facebook, starting on Sunday. I'm going to tell you all about the challenge. Monday it starts. It'll be a 5-day challenge. We're calling it something like trying to break that sugar addiction, and also you should be able to lose about 5 pounds in those 5 days. So stay with me. I'm going to get to that. So the other thing about that, we talked about insulin resistance. Now, insulin resistance means that you're simply not using insulin well. So what happens in your body is you eat a donut, let's go back to that donut example. Your blood sugar rises to, let's say, 100 points. Okay, if you're insulin resistant, your insulin's going to come up a little above that, 120 points. Let's say, I'm making these numbers up. This is all fake, aside from the actual general idea of this. Okay, so now your blood sugar drops because that insulin drops it back down, but now you have 20 points of insulin left in your system. And by the way, points is not a unit of measurement. We're just saying these things to make it a little easier to understand. So now that insulin's in your system, 20 points left, your body doesn't like to be out of balance. So it, again, sends that hunger signal back to your brain. Hey, we need a little bit of sugar to equalize out that insulin. Now, for most of us, if we had a half a cup of blueberries, that would do it. Your blood sugar would rise, the insulin would go down, everything would be good. But most of us don't eat half cups of blueberries. Most of us eat donuts, bagels, or other high sugar, high energy snacks. So again, boom, that blood sugar shoots back up. Our insulin goes above that, drains back down, and we have a little bit of insulin left. That's what insulin resistance does. That keeps us in a state of burning sugar, never really burning fat, and always having kind of that mild to moderate hunger pangs about that 10:30 mark, that 2:30 mark after dinner. That's when we normally see those hunger pangs, those cravings. So to break that cycle, I'm going to show you how to do that right at the end here. Okay, we're going to teach you how to actually get out of a sugar craving relationship. Get out of that bad relationship and get into something a little bit better. I'm going to teach you how you can actually take this tool that I'm going to give you and use it for the rest of your life. The last question I always get is, okay, look, I get it. I need to stay away from sugar. But is fruit bad? Is fruit the same thing as having a Snickers bar? Okay, let's talk a little bit about sugar, because sugar comes in a lot of different forms. Sugar, for the most part, especially sugars from fruits, is made up of glucose and fructose. Okay, those kind of the two main types of sugars. When you combine those together, you get sucrose, which is like what you would see as table sugar generally. So yes, a banana is going to have sugar. And if you had half a can of Pepsi, which is 20 grams of sugar, and a full banana, which is 20 grams of sugar, you're going to have about the same levels of sugar in both of those. Now, what does Pepsi not have in it that the banana has? Vitamins, minerals, fiber, high quality micronutrients that are going to feed your body. Okay, so at the end of the day, we want to be thinking about things. If our body's a race car, we want to be putting in high quality, high octane fuel. So that doesn't mean you need to be ditching all fruits and vegetables, or all fruits. It also doesn't mean you need to be eating fruits all the time, because again, it still has a sugar load, it still has a caloric load, but you also get some of those other benefits of those vitamins, minerals, micronutrients, and the fiber being a really big thing. So that being said, if you are in a place where you're trying to burn more fat, having 5 bananas per day is a bad idea. It's not good. If we can have a little bit more of those fruits that have higher fiber, lower sugar, those are like our berries, our blueberries, or raspberries, strawberries. Those are our lower glycemic fruits. That's going to be a better call for you long term. Okay, some of the higher glycemic fruits, bananas way up there, pineapples way up there. Okay, the sweeter fruits. So I'm not trying to cast judgment. I don't want to tell you bananas are bad and blueberries are good. I want to educate you so you can make your own decisions. For example, a banana for a post-workout is a great time to eat that because you're going to get a little bit more sugar, which is going to help stimulate what's called hypertrophy, or just being anabolic. Essentially, it's where your body starts growing. Now, being anabolic is bad if you're trying to lose fat, because if you're anabolic, you're going to be growing fat or growing muscle. If you're like, I want to bulk up, I want to get strong, being anabolic is good. So, sugar is going to create that aspect in your body. So whether you use that for your purposes or you're a slave to that is your choice. You get to decide this. So, when we're talking about is sugar in fruits the same type as it is in a Pepsi? Yes, but the Pepsi doesn't have any of the other benefits, okay? So how do we break out of a sugar addiction? How do we break out of a toxic relationship with our food, with high energy, high carbohydrates, high sugar foods? Well, I'm gonna tell you, and we're gonna do this challenge starting on Monday. So if you're not a member of the $1 Million Body group, jump in there because we're gonna be doing everything within that group. It's gonna be awesome. So what we wanna do is we wanna make sure that we're going to prime our body. And we're gonna do this by adding in a ton of high quality nutrients. So not only vitamins, minerals, but also those micronutrients, some of those little things that you don't necessarily think of, but have kind of fallen out of the quality of our food over years past. So, as GMOs, as farming practices have gotten more and larger, and there's such a high amount of emphasis put on mass production, again, no judgments on those things, but you just have to realize that an apple that's this big today, while it's awesome and delicious, it doesn't have the same amount of nutrients as an apple of equivalent size would have had 40 years ago. So just knowing that, we're going to need to deliberately build up the right amount of nutrients in our system so that way we don't have any deficiencies when we go to put the nail in the coffin, which is what we're going to do on next Friday. Okay, so I don't want to give it away, but it's going to be awesome. Friday, I'm going to teach you exactly how to get rid of those sugar cravings once and for all. But the first 4 days, Monday through Thursday, are going to be geared at building up the right levels of macro and micronutrients in your system. So we're going to start off by adding in something in the morning that's going to give you the hydration levels you need, as well as building your vitamin D levels. Then I'm going to show you a salad recipe that I use that's going to have a ton of different nutrients that you need. That's going to help you really, I don't want to say cleanse or detox because your body's good at that, but we're going to support your body's natural cleansing process with a salad you can get, that you can make at home with ingredients from any store. So all these things are going to combine to create an excellent environment for you to put yourself in a state where you are no longer suffering from sugar cravings. And by the way, you'll probably have lost about 5 pounds from this. And ideally, it's going to get you out of a sugar burning mode and put you into a more of a fat burning mode. Whereas then we can jump into a glycogen priming diet. So we're going to jump off of this priming period for 5 days. I'll show you how to jump into a glycogen priming diet so we don't get back into that cycle, especially over, if it's going to be the holidays, if it's going to be a big meal, if you're going out with friends, if you're drinking, whatever else. I'm going to show you the ways that you can avoid going back into that sugar burning mode where now we're just kind of cycling downhill. So once again, I just want to make sure that you know that if you are having sugar cravings, if you're having a toxic relationship with high energy, sweet foods, that a lot of times it's not your fault. We just need to put you in a better position where you've detoxified yourself from those issues. And by the way, I'm not going to try to sell you a cleanse or a detox because largely those are ineffective. Your body has a lot of natural processes that do that work for you. We just need to support them with high quality nutrition, hydration, and there's maybe 1 or 2 supplements that can aid in that journey. But again, no cleanse, no detox here. Okay. So join me in this process. If you have any questions about how you can actively get into a sugar-free relationship, then show up starting very, very soon. We're going to make sure that this is one of the most effective ways for you to get out of that sugar relationship and into a fat burning zone. Okay, so hopefully this is helpful. Let me know what you think. I love to be a resource, but this has been my live podcast, so probably said something stupid. Hope you really enjoyed it. Thank you for tuning in to the $1 Million Body podcast. We'll see you very soon.